All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, I know I'm fashionably late on my Bo Nickal video. I did have a long day of travel yesterday, so I wasn't able to put this video out for you guys when I wanted to, but better late than never, okay? Listen, if Bo Nickal was a food item, he'd be Bo Liver, and I want to talk about a couple of different aspects of Bo Nickal and the absolute destruction he faced at the hands of Reinier De Ridder this past Saturday. We will, of course, go over some of Bo Nickals' most delusional takes, as I am sure everyone has been doing. But something else I want to focus on is talking about his actual fight game, okay? His progression or lack thereof. Now, I put money on Reinier De Ridder. And the reason I did that is because I genuinely see little to no progression from Bo Nickal in terms of his mixed martial arts ability. Okay, and I think that this is somewhat a product of him buying his own hype. He's another victim of the UFC Hype Machine. This loss from Bo Penny coupled with all of his delusional takes. And look, I know that it probably benefits a fighter to be delusional, but in my opinion, only to a certain extent. You have to be able to look at what you are not doing well enough in order to progress. Being confident is one thing and something that is absolutely required, but being completely arrogant and deluded is a very different thing entirely. Okay, but this loss, coupled with all that talk, reminded me a bit of Raul Rosas Jr. when he fought and won on Dana White's Contender Series. There was a massive push behind him in terms of promotion. You know, oh, he's only 17 or whatever. He has to show up to the fight in his mom's minivan or whatever it was. You know, do you know what I mean? And Raul, I think, let it get to his head a bit and started thinking that he was the fucking bee's knees. Okay, God's gift to earth. And then he ran into the serial weight misser, Christian Rodriguez, and he found out that that was not the case. The reason I get reminded of Raul Rosas Jr. here is because he was talking about similar things to Bo Nickal, about how he knows he could already beat Aljo, who was the champ at the time, because of training or whatever it was.
Got into the UFC, I had beef going on with Aljo. You know, he was saying like, till this day, the people think that I went hella hard on him because, like, not trying to start anything, but I did, beat him up,
He was acting like he was just going to come in and run through the entire division. And like I said, I understand that confidence is necessary, but being completely fucking delusional is not inherently, okay? Another aspect that reminds me of that situation is the absolute and utter cope-filled excuses that we get from both of the fan bases. You heard a lot of people making excuses for Raul Rosas by saying things like, oh, well, he's so young. He's not as experienced as these guys. You know, he's probably not even fully grown. He's only a kid and all that bullshit. And with Bo Penny over here, we would hear things like, oh, he's only had 7 fights, bro. He's still getting better. You can't blame him for his fight against Paul Craig because Paul Craig has way more experience. And to all that bullshit, I say, hey, then don't be in the fucking UFC. Okay, hello? I mean, what are you doing here then, if that's the case? I don't understand it. You're in the top fight promotion on the planet. If you need to be babied, you shouldn't be in the UFC. I mean, Bo would make these excuses himself sometimes, especially after the Paul Craig fight. Oh, well, it's only my 7th fight, and I'm fighting a guy with like 26 pro fights or whatever.
The way I won was a pretty big boost to my confidence, knowing that I can go in there against a guy that has 26 or 27 pro MMA fights, however many, 10, 12 years of experience, and shut him out for 15 minutes. So
it is just, you're such a phenom, and people are so into your rise, and it's meteoric that the expectation, like we said last week, there's a big jump between Val Woodburn and Cody Brundage, with all due respect, and Paul Craig, and then whomever is above Paul Craig. And so it's almost unfair. People think you're just going to go out there in your 7th pro fight and look like someone who's been fighting. I mean, you have 3 years, and that's it. Like, really, what, 2 amateur fights? They were all very quick fights, and then it's a whole career of just wrestling, no striking at all. To go 15 minutes and not shoot a single takedown and win that dominantly, I don't know what people Like, what more do you really want other than maybe just a 60-second knockout and everyone's like, yeah, that was awesome?
You're 100% right. I'm in a lose-lose scenario, and so it's just like a little annoying. But for me, I don't have the luxury of fighting 2-10 guys. Paul Craig's, had 18 fights in the UFC, and those are the type of guys I'm fighting, and so I don't have the luxury of getting that development against as a typical prospect would.
And I dominated him for 3 rounds. I still can't believe he says that. But like I said, if you need to be babied, then you probably shouldn't be in the UFC, let alone on a pay-per-view main card. Okay? And honestly, Bo Nickal probably would have massively benefited from a few years of fighting guys in lesser promotions, but instead went to the Contender Series after just one pro fight. Since that time, like I said in the beginning, I don't see much improvement at all, especially in the striking department, which is obviously where he needs to improve the most, okay? I don't even see a developing jab or anything like that. He just spams overhand lefts, and it's insane. He also still slips whenever he throws a switch kick. But, like, what are you doing in the gym? You have been now training pure mixed martial arts for at least 3 years. And I'm at a loss. I don't know if he's just not going with guys in the gym that are going to put him in tough situations, or if the gym doesn't want to do that because he's like their golden boy right now, or has the potential to be the golden boy. So I don't know what's happening, but I'm not seeing the improvements that you would expect out of a guy with his athletic ability transitioning into mixed martial arts. Guys like Daniel Cormier, Henry Cejudo, their striking improved like leaps and bounds once they got to the UFC, right? Daniel Cormier was a menace in the dirty boxing department. Henry Cejudo had very nice kicks and all the rest of it, good knees and shit, a nice jab as well. Like, they improved that aspect of their game while not letting their wrestling slip all that much. And this guy's been trashing the likes of Khamzat Chimaev.
You're saying that his wrestling is pretty mid.
It's trash. I won't even say mid.
He's a 3-time Swedish national champion.
That's sick.
12 wins in 3 years, 0 losses.
That's incredible. 12-0 in 3 years. We're gonna fight at some point, and people will realize that there's levels, and it's just so funny. You go into a world of MMA where there's no other sport where people know less and think they know more.
Acting like he'd beat Whitaker, DDP. I mean, this guy actually thought he could beat a fucking chimp.
I think a small chimpanzee, I'll wreck. Agree. I'll put him in a guillotine, dude.
And that it would only take 3 of them to beat a gorilla. My guy, one of you couldn't beat a Dutchman. You might be able to beat Glorilla, but you sure as fuck ain't beating a gorilla, okay? I know he's catching a lot of heat right now, and I'd imagine there will be fighters and fans alike who feel bad and will say dumb shit like, oh, he'd beat you up, bro. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm not in the UFC, but I think the reason so many fans are so happy that this happened is because we can sense the inorganicness of certain quote-unquote stars that the UFC tries to push, especially more hardcore fans, right? A casual viewer might not pick up on it the same way that somebody who watches fights every single week would. But like the UFC shoving Bo Penny on the main card of UFC 300 with multiple champions on the prelims like Yuri Prohaska, Cody Garbrandt, fucking, you name it. There was many more. And then you see guys like Reinier De Ridder, who don't really get a massive promotional boost, be an absolute blessing to real fight fans, okay? He showed up here in fucking November. This guy's got 3 finishes in 6 months. He is the Dutch Kevin Holland that, can actually maybe go somewhere. He's an absolute blessing to the middleweight division as well as the UFC. Now, Bo Nickal has yet to do an interview since Saturday night, but I would not be surprised at all if we heard excuses like, oh man, I just bulked up way too much. I called this on my live stream while we were watching the fights. I said, wait, this is what we're going to hear. I just got too bulk, bro. It was actually just fatty liver symptoms that did it. It wasn't even the knee. That knee didn't even touch me, bro. My liver just got fatty, right? This was a huge narrative going into this fight. Everyone was asking him about it because he uploaded that video of him stepping on the scale claimed he was near 40 pounds overweight heading into fight week. Meanwhile, dude looked the exact fucking same as he always does. And he looked pretty undersized, I will say. I don't think that he's the smallest middleweight, but Reinier De Ridder is huge. So when you have guys like that, it emphasizes the size difference. And it makes me wonder who in the top 15 Bo Nickal wouldn't struggle with. Even someone like a Marvin Vettori, who is massive, I think Bo would struggle with at this point. You know? Anyways, I can't wait to hear the cope from the likes of Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, Bo Nickal himself, Henry Cejudo, whoever else, Kamaru Usman, all of them. I'll be here to make videos on it for you guys. So I will eagerly await that, okay? But in the meantime, like, subscribe, all that good shit. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.